Friday, May 10th is here, and if you're in the Bay Area, my God, what are you doing watching this show right now? Stop. Go outside. It is beautiful once again here in the Bay Area. We're getting like early summer returns, and I hope you're having a very good one. It's the Damon Bruce Show, brought to you by our good friend at Ikes Sandwiches, and it's awesome to have you back here for a little Friday chat. I tell you, this is going to be a little one because I've promised my good friend Cyrus Satsis that I'll be joining him on a little Locked On Warriors at the top of the hour. So we're going to take care of business here, lickety-split, and send you on your way this gorgeous Friday afternoon. Again, it's great to have you here. And if you're old enough, if you went to college, you understand what freshman orientation is. Freshman orientation's a fun day. Freshman orientation, they'll try to tell you like, oh, dude, the cool kids don't go to freshman orientation. No, the kids who don't know where class is on Monday are the kids that don't go to freshman orientation. The kids who are here might know where they're going once business gets underway, and the NFL is having its equivalent of freshman orientation right now. Down in Santa Clara, rookies have reported it's rookie mini camp for the 49ers, and it's where you find out where the damn weight room is. It's where you find out where the cafeteria is. It's where you find out where your locker is. It's where you start looking around and going, oh, geez, I guess I got to get to know my way around these hallways because they're mine now. And then, welcome to the NFL. It really is like one of the first days of the NFL's new year. I mean, 2023, it better be in your rearview mirror by now. You've had your free agency. You've had your offseason. You've had your draft. Rookies are reporting to camp, and today they're going to put on some pads. They're not going to go out and do any hitting. This is like a hot trot. They'll go out there and they'll run, they'll stretch, and all those things, but no real popping, not yet. But it's the first day that they will taste NFL speed. It's the first day a lot of these guys won't be easily among the most talented guys in the locker room because there's no such thing as the untalented guy in an NFL locker room. There's only degrees of varying world-class talent in NFL locker rooms. So it's going to be a day where a lot of these guys should be very excited. It's also going to be a day where a lot of these guys are going to get some athletic humility served to them on a silver platter for the first time. And it's a big day. One of my partners, your partner in crime too, Larry Kruger's heading on down to Santa Clara. He's going to take a good look at things. We're going to have plenty to talk about on Monday's Wake Up. We already had a Wake Up today, sip of the day off the board because of that. But I hope no matter where you are, the coffee is right this morning. If you're watching on YouTube later tonight, go ahead and put a pot of coffee on too. Doesn't even need to be decaf. Stay up all night. It's Friday. Who cares? It is good to have you here. I wish I had great Dre Greenlaw news to share with you, but that's it's not where we are right now. And his recovery process is a slow, arduous, and long one. And we'll dive right into a story. Matt Mayoko basically was talking to Dre Greenlaw, and Dre Greenlaw said, look, man, I'll be back when I'm ready to go out there and I'm just ready to play guns a-blazing, leaving it all out on the field football, the only kind of football we've ever seen from Dre Greenlaw. Again, I mentioned I wish there was a way he could dial back a little, but there really is no load management in the NFL. You go out there and you pin your ears back on every single play. You just can't sort of, go through the motions in an NFL regular season or in any game the way you can in other sports. And because of that, Dre Greenlaw's body is always out there on the line and at risk every single play. And he plays like, again, a sledgehammer. And he's talking about when he'll be back, and he tells Mayoko, quote, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 10 games. Maybe that's how much he'll miss at the beginning of the year. Sounds like he'll be starting on the PUP list, that's for sure. But I'm going to play like it's the Super Bowl in every game, says Dre Greenlaw. It's a long, slow process. You just kind of got to be ready for every day to wake up and attack whatever it is I'm trying to work on. He's working on his strength. He's working on his mobility. He's working on his range of motion. Be ready, Devondre Campbell. It sounds like you have the best opportunity to join this team as a starting defender who wasn't a starting defender last year, because Dre Greenlaw is just going to be out of the picture for a while now. I mean, you should expect that. You tear your Super Bowl in February, it's hard to get back by September. Or you tear your Achilles in the Super Bowl in February. You didn't tear a Super Bowl, although it did feel like it got torn up. You know what I mean? It's tough, man. It's really, really tough. I wish that when I saw him, like, oh, Dre Greenlaw injury update. How's it going? Let's take a look here. Not great. Not great. But again, it's too early to be great. But rare is it where you get the injury update that has any sort of like caution attached to it. Every injury in the history of rehabbing injuries is normally ahead of schedule the very first time you hear anybody talk about it. This one is not. So I guess I appreciate that level of honesty here. Let's see. Want to tell you that as you walk around your weekend, if you are in a state, in a city, in a town that is good and lucky enough to have an Ikes sandwiches, that is where your lunch mind should be headed. Ikes sandwiches are absolutely delicious, the very best of ingredients, tender loving care applied to all sandwich creation, and the options basically go to infinity at Ikes. Hundreds of sandwiches up on that menu, 1,000 sandwiches combinations when you really want to get into everything that you could do to specialize your sandwich. And I'm just telling you, you got to start looking at that menu now. You're going to need about a half an hour to pick your sandwich before you go to any Ikes. Make sure you download that Ikes Reward app. You'll be very happy that you did. You will start earning your way to like a free bag of chips, a soda, a sandwich. Oh, yes. Frequent flyer miles for sandwiches is the way you should look at it. And again, maybe you're in charge of ordering lunch for the office next week. Think about checking out Ike's Catering. You'll have praises sung about you. They will write poems and songs about the great decisions you made at lunch. Speaking of poems and songs, a lot of great Irish drinking poems and songs, and the Irish Bar is probably responsible for just about all of them. A great Irish/neighborhood/sports/great/dive/everything you'd ever want in a bar is just waiting for you right at the Dubliner on West Portal. I love the Dubliner in West Portal. I'm actually going to be popping in this weekend to say hello, see how those guys are doing, and invite my friend Kenny to a little event that the Guardsmen got coming up, and I will be inviting you to a Guardsmen event a little bit later on here on the show, so stay tuned. We also have got some news about Plus Mania 4. Damon's a poppin'. So stick around for that. Again, thanks so much to Ikes. Thanks to our good friends at the Dubliner. Thanks to all of you for supporting the show. You can support the show tremendously by hitting a like, hitting subscribe. We're getting closer and closer to 20,000 subscriptions here. Memberships are indeed available, but just liking and subscribing is always certainly appreciated. Again, Super Chat's always a welcome sight on the timeline as well from all of you. It's great to have you here. Your support is felt and measured, and it's awesome. Thank you so very, very much. Let's see. The NFL. It's getting harder and harder to just find on network TV, and more subscription services are stepping into the realm of professional sports than ever before. Football going to its Thursday night package on Amazon Prime is one thing. The ticket, the DirecTV Sunday ticket going to YouTube is certainly a huge step in a futuristic direction for football. And the story today from John Orand, who covers sports media, is that the NFL very well may have its Christmas slate of games on Netflix this year. I was the first one to say many years ago, the Super Bowl's eventually going to be on a streaming service. No, Damon, never going to happen. Impossible. Really? Here's the only shot the Super Bowl ever has of staying on network television. It's that these networks have it written into their contracts that it's just never given up. And if I'm the NFL, I'm not allowing anyone to write that into a contract. Highest bidder wins. And football, more than any other program, is the lifeblood of all these networks. So they can't afford to lose it. So what's the number one way for football to drive up the market price is to say, new competitor in the room. You can't afford to lose it. But, what streaming service wouldn't be interested in a deal that would eventually have a Super Bowl, the most watched TV program in the United States? Hard to say no to that. It's going to happen. It's just absolutely going to happen. The deal isn't done just yet, but Netflix getting into the business with the NFL in this capacity would open up the possibility for even more games to be streamed on the platform in the future. There's no going back. None. There is no going back. We will never, ever, I promise you this, have a season where the headline going into that season is all streaming services have decided they're no longer interested in carrying NFL games and it's all going back to network television. Nunca chance of that ever happening. Just never will. Never. So, progress. It's the only direction that everyone marches in, the forward. And forward towards new money is the only direction we're going to see the NFL ever marching in. So, forward towards new money. And the secret here is there's an element of shrinkflation built in for all of these TV deals, any of the network deals. It's going to cost you more to keep a product that you get less of. Not only has the price of the bag of Doritos gone up, but there are actually fewer Doritos in the bag than there were 2, 3, 4 years ago. Not only is the cost of doing business to retain the rights to broadcast NFL games going to go up, but these networks are going to be bidding extreme amounts of money on packages that actually get them less programming, less inventory. So shrinkflation, it's happening everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So there you go. That is kind of the NFL news from this day. Again, sort of a slow news week. The only other bit of news is sorrowful news. If you're a little older than me, this will probably mean even more to you than it does if you're younger than me, because I was too young to ever consume Jimmy Johnson's career. This is not Jimmy Johnson. How about them Cowboys, Jimmy Johnson? This is Hall of Fame cornerback Jimmy Johnson of the 49ers, who passed away after playing his entire 16-year-long career in San Francisco. Only Jerry Rice played more games for the 49ers in the regular season than Hall of Fame cornerback and 49er Hall of Fame corner. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and obviously the 49ers Football Hall of Fame. Jimmy Johnson, he was the 6th overall pick all the way back in 1961. Glorious career, 47 career interceptions, still the second most amount of interceptions in franchise history. And to have those amount of interceptions back in a day where throwing the ball really was only considered a play on third down, and even then it's only if you have to type of situation. That's a prolific amount of production in a sport that if you went back and put on the game film from the mid-'60s, I don't even know if you'd recognize it. Be like, what am I looking at, rugby? Just got a scrum on every single play. Football evolved so much. So there you go. That's what you need to know in terms of rookie minicamp is underway and what is going on around the NFL, which is always at the top of our minds in sports, even as the NBA playoffs continue. And the NBA playoffs continue tonight. Golden State Warriors are nowhere near this, as you know. But that allows you to lay your burden of rooting for the Golden State Warriors down, if that's the way your cookie crumbles, and you can just sit back and just watch. And man, there's been some really good basketball to watch. We got Knicks and Pacers this evening happening in Indianapolis. Knicks going to Indiana with a 2-0 series lead, so it's a gots-to-have-it game for the Pacers, who were complaining so much about officiating that I've seen Rick Carlisle's been fined by the NBA. Speaking of you gots to have it, Nuggets gots to have themselves a win in a series that they really haven't even been competitive in yet against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are just throwing more D around then the 1985 Chicago Bears, the Minnesota Timberwolves, are up 2-0 in the series, and they play their first home game in this series tonight. That place is going to be going bonkers. And it should be a hell of a series, a hell of a game. Again, the Nuggets, it's a must-win. Nuggets have to win Game 3 to even think about climbing back into this series. Same thing with the Pacers. The game last night, we saw Dallas get back into the series by beating Oklahoma City in Oklahoma. Let me tell you this. There is no fan base that decides to nearly, go with 100% participation in we all have the same T-shirt to wear tonight. Those Oklahoma City fans are bonkers about rising as one and everybody putting on the T-shirt. That was a sea of blue. Looks great. I love when crowds do that. I love when everyone's like, all right, instead of like 80% of us doing it, everyone's doing it. Like there's not a single woman sitting courtside thinking like, oh my God, I got this Versace top that I'm not putting a T-shirt over. Not in Oklahoma City. There's probably not a lot of Versace tops. Good old Versace top. Woo! Versace top, Tennessee. There's not a lot of Versace, I'm guessing, in OKC. Or maybe I'm mistaken, and there's more money than I can even think of, and it's just booming with Versace top. But all I know is that any woman in the Bay Area who's rocking Versace courtside of that Warriors game, she ain't putting on her T-shirt. Neither is probably the dude that's with her, who's probably also wearing some douchey Versace. By the way, if you're so desperate to let everyone know you're wearing Versace, you're just try a white T-shirt, for God's sakes. It's cooler. I'll be taking no more shots at any Italian fashion houses today. That's your only one. I hope you only needed one in this broadcast. It's the only one you're going to get. Let's see. As I told you already, I'm going on with my friend Cyrus Satsis talking some Warriors and NBA on Locked On Warriors at the top of the hour. And then, oh man, I got to get to a little physical therapy. Remember my whole foot wasn't feeling good? Well, my foot feels a lot better, but I don't want it to just start feeling bad again. So I'm starting a little physical therapy today. Me and Dre Greenlaw, we got so much in common. Today's a good day to do it. It's going to get me out of the house. I'm going to mow the lawn today. Big doings here in the Bruce household. Let's see. What do we got in terms of baseball? We got Reds against Giants and Logan Webb back in San Francisco. The Giants are home after a lousy 10-game road trip that saw them go to 3 different cities and pick up 1 win. Oh, no. I guess they didn't pick up any wins in Philadelphia. They went 3-7 on this 10-game road trip. It sucked. So, you win a couple games in Colorado, and then you just, on getaway day, dump the final game in Colorado 9-1. I mean, the Rockies are the worst team in the National League. You lose to the Rockies. That's okay. 9-1, 9-2, whatever it was. I lost interest. Giants are already 9 games back of the Dodgers. Again, it's May 10th. It's a little early to start playing. How many games back are you? But 9 games already back of the Dodgers. That ain't good. The A's are at the Mariners. Paul Blackburn's trying to continue his really good start to the year. He's 3-1 with a 3 ERA. So we'll see what the A's got on the road up in Seattle. And that brings us to Bruce's a-poppin' and Plus Mania 4, my good friends. Last Dive Bar, Damon Bruce and Damon Amendolara are bringing you Plus Mania, Damon's a-poppin', on Friday, June 7th at Line 51 Brewing Company over in Oakland. If you can get that day off of work and come play a little hooky with us, do it. We're going to get to the bar. We're going to record a live show together. We're going to do it. Well, it's not just going to be recording. I mean, we're going to do it. We're going to do a live show. And then at about 3 or 4 o'clock, we're going to the game, the reverse boycott game. The F. John Fisher reverse boycott is happening on June 7th, which is a Friday. So start your afternoon with a couple of Damons and then wrap up your day in the Coliseum parking lot with all the Last Dive Bar and the Oakland 68s and all these great fans who are just screaming into the vortex that isn't even listening to them, but keep screaming. Maybe Las Vegas will hear you and get out of the John Fisher business. I got a theory that says this whole thing stalls in Sacramento and they end up in Sacramento and joke's on them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I am rooting for nothing but catastrophe when it comes to anything good maybe happening to John Fisher outside of the private plane crashing. What's the worst? That's what I want to happen. That's what I want to happen. How do we get it to the point where John Fisher has an uncomfortable night in his mansion? That's what I want. I don't want him sleeping in nice thread count sheets anymore. I don't want him enjoying the spoils of anything when all he does is spoil everything. Fuck that guy. So I hope you plan on coming on out to Line 51, the Line 51 Brewing Company in Oakland on Friday, June 7th. Now, that is a fun thing to come do. For those of you who like to exercise, I'm putting up a graphic for you, and I want to invite you to the Presidio Half Marathon put on by the Guardsmen, longtime charity group here in San Francisco. I'm so proud to be a part of still. It's on Sunday, June 23rd, and if you use the promo code Damon when you sign up, you get a 25% discount, or don't use the promo code Damon because all of the made money from this event goes to fund Bay Area at-risk youth. There is a QR code right there. It's followed by a pancake breakfast, but there is going to be a half marathon, a 10K, and a 5K, and it all starts at 8 a.m. on June 23rd, Crissy Field, and I hope you plan on coming on down. You don't even have to run the damn race. Make a nice little donation to the Guardsmen. Come on down. I'm going to be starting the race. I'm going to be hanging out, announcing the winners, and it'll be a good chance to sort of hang out together in, standing on one of the most beautiful lawns in the world. You can't beat Crissy Field on a nice day. Like, take me someplace pretty on a nice day. It's called Christie Brinkley Field. Like, it's perfect. It's freaking perfect. I think we've officially reached the old man shaking his fist at a cloud portion of this Friday, and I hope you'll indulge me here. Again, these are slow news days in terms of sports. So I got something that isn't sports, but I think it's something that we can all talk about in our little mofo Friday safe space that is the Plus. Because I read an article written by Judith Woods in The Telegraph. And it basically is saying, Gen Z doesn't know how to manage adulthood. And this really spoke to me because she gets confused quite often with the generation that I get accused of being a part of. Now, I don't know what Judith Woods looks like. I hope she's a lot better looking than me. And I hope she is retaining those colors au natural. My au natural color is about, I don't know. What do you think? I got 8 years before I'm like Santa Claus level white. I am going very gray very quickly. And I know that there are things that can be done about that. I'm not interested in any of those things. I am not here to combat my aging process in any way, shape, or form. Tie-dye would be the only thing I would ever think of dyeing in my life, a tie-dye. I'm not dyeing anything. Au natural. And because I'm so gray, I get a lot of people who want to rip me in the comments will be like, okay, boomer, which is the biggest dipshit way to address someone you think is older than you. but I am not from, here's the thing. The people using OK Boomer are so poorly read and poorly researched. They probably don't even know where that comes from. They probably don't even know what the baby boom generation was after World War II. They'll use the insult not even knowing what it is. Remember, I had a friend of mine whose very young teenage daughter, who is my goddaughter, I don't even think she's a teenager, she might be 12, come home from school one day and she's like, Jesus, Dad, these kids in my class think that Nirvana is a clothing brand. She's cool. She's into punk. She's into grunge. She's into real music. So she's a drummer. And she really likes music. And she's, Dad, these kids that I go to school with think Nirvana is a clothing brand. So anyway, I want to read to you some of what she wrote. And tell me this doesn't speak directly to some of you who are my age. Old enough to be confused with the boomer, but still young enough to be Gen X. Because I'm Generation X, right? And this is just how, we've got a generation of people who have no conceptual idea of how to relate to real world problems like an adult. I remember my teenage years and my early 20s being a training ground of adulthood. That first time you go to the grocery store and you're like, this isn't about just me buying the food I want. Like, I actually need to buy toothpaste. I need to buy Q-tips. I need to buy paper towels. All the stuff that Mom used to pick up is now, because I'm in my own apartment, up to me to pick up. We got a generation that doesn't even have its own apartment. Here is a bit of the story that I want to read to you from Judith Woods. Do you have a teenage daughter who freezes in horror if her phone actually rings? Is your son still living under your roof at age 32? Do your student offspring now have so many unread emails clogging up their inbox, upwards of 40,000, that they've just decided to abandon it? Well, if so, congratulations. Your brood of overgrown babies are perfectly normal by today's standards, which is scant consolation, I agree, but at least we all share the blame. Before I go much further, writes Judith, I'd like to say in my defense that I'm not what is pejoratively labeled a boomer. I'm Generation X, born between 1965 and 1980, which is me. I was born in 1975. We're supposed to be the cool ones, by the way. And by the way, we have gone very badly and wrong in our attempts to hand rear and house train Generation Z, which is now coming up behind us between the ages of 12 and 27. According to data just released by the Office of National Statistics, a third of all men under the age of 35 still live with their parents. Really? Really? A third of all men under the age of 35 still live with their parents. Now, there was a moment where I lost a job in Columbus, Ohio, where at the age of 30, I was moving back into my parents' house for a few months before I got the job that brought me back to the Bay Area. When I got hired at KNBR in 2005. And at no point in time, by the way, we paused for any and all super chats. Moon Man dropping 2 bones in the ganja jar. Thank you, Moon Man. Super Bowl is going like a pay-per-view fight in the future. Absolutely it will. Absolutely. You will be paying to watch it. It won't just be on TV. Anyways, to get back to this topic here. So as soon as I moved back with my parents, there wasn't a single minute of my life that was spent on anything other than how do I get back out of here? I was deeply appreciative of the safety net that I got to fall into. And I understand, that's privilege personified. but it was circumstances that sent me there, not laziness, not inability to make it on my own. And the minute I got back home, the only thing I concentrated on was getting the hell out of my house again. Like I was more interested in living on my own in abject squalor than I was living comfortably in my parents' house. One of the main reasons is I was heterosexual and was, as if that's over now. Now I am, and I wanted to, have a place to possibly have sex with a woman if I were lucky enough to go ahead and reach that situation. And you can't do that when you live with your parents. So if nothing else, I needed a place to go to maybe bring a woman back to. That was the priority. Like, accuse me of, toxic heterosexuality, but that was very much on my mind. I can't be at home. I got to get laid. Like, I don't even know if kids walk around with that as a motivation anymore. I don't think they do. I really don't think that they do. Again, generation virgin doesn't even know how to buy a drink for a woman, much less pay for an apartment to take a woman back to. Anyway, so you got a third of all men under the age of 35 still live with their parents. It was back in 2008 when U.S. writer Kelly Williams Brown, who was then 24, used a tongue-in-cheek verb, adulting, which actually became part of the lexicon, right? Adulting. Millennials, who are now between the ages of 28 and 43, they embrace that word wholeheartedly. Like, millennials were saying, all right, it's time for me to start adulting, and I am going to have to buy my own toilet paper and toothbrushes. And they were okay without this. But this next generation, Generation Z, they don't use adulting. Ironically, they don't use it at all because they're not even interested in it. Instead, Generation Z's focus is inward, so much so that a quarter of people right now between the ages of 18 and 34 have never answered a phone. Really? And they do say that creates an incredible amount of stress. If a ringing phone creates panic in you, you're just not going to make it. You're not going to make it in the real world. You will not make it in the real world if a ringing phone creates a level of anxiety in you. It's too much pressure. The study by a comparison site also revealed that half of them regularly blanked calls from their own parents. So you can see it's ringing. It's mom. This shouldn't intimidate you, but you're still not picking it up. Good God. Hierarchy of needs is a psychological profile written by a psychologist years ago. The hierarchy of needs in the olden days were very, very different than they are today. Like back in the crossing the country in a covered wagon days, your hierarchy of needs were food, shelter, clothes, the ability to hunt for your food, the ability to actually cook it on an open flame, the ability to, ward off, people who might attack you on your trek westward in your covered wagon. The needs that you had to survive were much different than the needs that we have now. To the point where, our needs became the physiological needs, still having food and water, safety. But then, the world became an easier place to live. So now your needs are like love and belonging to a group. And these are good needs. These are normal needs. Esteem, self-actualization, which you only get when you leave the nest and becoming a grown-up on your own, right? These days, the hierarchy of needs in Generation Z is an iPhone for your food delivery apps, secure Wi-Fi for your internet connection, Instagram, so you can pretend that you're cooler than you really are and have your very, very carefully curated, candid photos to show people that you're not a loser when you are definitely just some loser pretending to be anything but that on Instagram. And your hierarchy of needs is now, it includes like basically what you get at a day spa. The bitter truth is that none of these generation-defining activities qualify as real life. None of them. Real life was a vertical progression upwards from childhood to adulthood. Now, these days, we live in a horizontal society where you're just trying to do everything with your own age group. You're not trying to reach that next age group. You're just trying to be as big of a flaming pussy as everybody in your age group. And basically, we have normalized 30-year-old men living at home, sleeping in their childhood bedrooms, surrounded by Marvel posters. Grow the fuck up, I guess, would be the theme of this segment. And there's a huge generation that right now, again, if a ringing phone is a trigger for you, you ain't gonna make it. I know who not to bet on if that is a big deal for you. Otis Bird excited about Damon times 2, right? Yeah, double Damon happening for the reverse boycott. It's going to be an awful lot of fun. Sporticus, hey, Damon's a poppin', Mary's a poppins. Got lots of poppins. Bay Gibson says, I live in Oakland. Hey, what do you know? I hope you can make it that day. June 7th, I just happened to work that day in Oaktown. Red Jet, I hope to see you there. Otis says, Damon, for the people going to the game, could they sit with you and Damon Amendola? Well, yeah, I mean, I don't even know where our tickets are, but yeah, I would assume so. How about this? If you can't sit with us, it won't be because we're telling you you can't sit with us. It's going to be because your ticket says you're not in this section. And I don't know where we're sitting. I've got no idea. But yes, if you get anything in your life other than a warm welcome from either Damon, I would be stunned on that day. Otis, Sacramento might be better for the A's than Vegas. The Vegas thing still feels rushed. Yeah, they're demolishing the Tropicana right now, but can they really fit an MLB stadium there? If you go and start reading the language of everything the A's are working, the A's still don't have a site in Las Vegas. Even though they're demolishing the Tropicana right now, you were right about that, Otis. The A's still have not actually selected that as their official work is going to begin right here site. I think they go to Sacramento and they get stuck there. I really do. I really do. And that's why Vivek sees John Fisher, and I guarantee you he sees a putz that he can take advantage of. That is, John Fisher fucks this up, Vivek can come and swoop in and claim something because he's more moneyed up, he's smarter, and he knows the lay of the land better than John Fisher, who, again, has zero political capital, will, or allies anywhere. UC Steve says, Damon, I'm not interested in the run at all, but I see that there's a pancake, beer, Bloody Mary breakfast. Yes, I'm not going to be running either. No way. But yes, it is a great day. Again, it's a great chance to make a donation to the Guardsmen, and we do really, really good stuff. The Guardsmen help Bay Area at-risk youth in ways that transforms kids' lives. Again, we don't just throw money in a word. We're not raising money for cancer. Guess what? Cancer's never going away. So you can throw as much money at cancer as you want. It'll be here tomorrow. To me, identifying one kid, getting them an education, and providing that education between now and to the completion of their education, that is what the Guardsmen do. A lot of campership, get kids out of the concrete jungle, up to the forest, up to nature, and then kids are identified as, what would you do with a private school education? And it's a wonderful, wonderful charity. Mike Antic says, Guardsmen, I salute you. Fantastic program. Thank you very much. We're very, very proud of what we've done. Native Dancer saying, hey, proud to be a boomer, as you should be. You know, the whole point of like making fun of getting older, what's the option? So either I get older or I die. I'm going to choose getting older every time. I don't think that there's any shame in getting older. Damon, the boomers suck. Not going to lie. Well, here's what we do know is that generation is going far, far out of its way to ruin the world going forward. They really are. Those bunch of selfish sons of bitches. Let's see. What else we got going on? I'm not getting into political anything here today. 49ers Ultimate Report says, I've been doing my grocery shopping since I was 10 years old. I've always been an independent person. Like being alone most of the time. Yeah, I mean, I that's the thing. I wanted to find my own way. I wanted to find my own way. I wanted to get out from underneath the comforts that my parents provided to go be uncomfortable on my own. I was seeking a level of uncomfortable that I don't know is even considered an option anymore by kids who are coming through just soft as biscuits. And you are right. Apartments are really expensive. Trying to rent one alone, rocking New Era 84, it is expensive out there these days. But, you know, it was really expensive back in my day, too. I had to come up with 3 times the deposit. You know, first month, last month, safety deposit. I mean, it's not that much different. Just the dollar amount changes. But it's brutal out there. And it's brutal because of these boomers who have screwed things up so much. But it is, here's the thing. I don't care how hard it was. I would have done it. Like, that's one thing I know. There is no obstacle. There is no generational price point. There is no, it's harder to do now than it used to be, that would have ever had me thinking, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to stay at home. No chance. None chance. Just, I'm not wired that way. I've always said I would rather fail on my own terms than succeed on anyone else's. This is why moving over to YouTube was, I don't want to say easy for me, but the transition was nothing to like look down upon. Like I saw this whole thing as a serious interruption in the family's economy. But at the same time, now I can do it on my own terms. And that is always appealing to me. It always has been. Just wired differently. Damon, housing costs are ridiculous. I moved back home for a few years to stack up before I could afford to move back out. Raider Luke, see, that's the thing, though. You did this to do that. You didn't do this to seek a level of comfort that you then did not vacate. So there's the difference there, right? There's the difference. Again, I moved to San Francisco in 2005, back here full time. I was also out here right before the millennium. So I was here from like 97 through about 2000, and then went back to the East Coast, worked at ESPN, and then made my way back here in 2005. And at no point in time was San Francisco anything other than incredibly expensive to live in. It was incredibly expensive to live in at all times, and somehow my broke ass managed to do it too, because I'm a hustler, baby. Hustled. And I liked hustling. There you go. That's pretty much it for us today. Again, if you need more, if you need some more worrying about what the Golden State Warriors future would be like, tune in to Locked On Warriors with my good friend Cyrus Satsis. I'll be joining him in about 15 minutes from right now. Michael Chan says, hey, Damon, what if one of my Marvel posters is Black Widow? Well, at least we know you like girls. But do you know how to talk to someone? The Peter Pan syndrome. Oh, there's a thing. There really is. This forever young thing. Like, oh, I still buy toys, but I don't take them out of their boxes anymore, which means they're an investment. You're not fooling me. You're not fooling this guy. Melanic. Pricier than a Robert Kraft massage out there. Yeah, it is. It is absolutely. It's how about this? It'll never not be incredibly inexpensive. So adjust and carry on. This is what I'm talking about. Postman. Oy, oy, oy! He's at San Jose. What is it? SJC? Is that the airport? Heading to Portland to see Pearl Jam tonight. It's a great live show. Hopefully you get a big yellow Ledbetter. I've always been a huge corduroy guy. Love corduroy. So I hope you get a good one tonight. I just saw Chardonnay Dog has reached his 4 months of membership. Chardonnay Dog, well, thank you so very, very much. 4 months of membership, of being initiated. Again, Damon, are you the guy saying you shouldn't play around with kids' toys and you also put on a Bane mask? No, that's not me. That's not Damon's not Sports Bane. So there you go. Oh, by the way, Steely Dan. Steely Dan. Pardon me. I was reading something about Steely Dan earlier. Smiley Dan says the look on Luka's face was priceless. Yeah, last night during the Mavericks postgame, I don't know, somebody had their laptop plugged into a soundboard or some chick was getting railed behind a curtain. But all of a sudden, this very much the distinct sound of a woman having sex rang out in the Luka Doncic Dallas Mavericks postgame last evening. And Luka was like, what? Where's that coming from? I don't know. She sounded like she was coming, but I don't know where that was coming from. Damon, your Sports Bane impression is terrible. It's not me. It is not me. Hey, thank you so very much for watching. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for supporting the sponsors. Thank you for supporting the show by just liking and subscribing. It means an awful lot. Thank you for being the coolest community out there on YouTube. What an awesome group that we have. Each and every day I come in here. It's so cool to talk to you all. Thank you for being a part of this. And please do remember that sports don't build character. They reveal it.